A one, two, three, four. Carry over. Come on, Coleman.
Thank you, everybody. I want to start not only by welcoming everybody, but complimenting the students yesterday. I'd like to do this. You were a terrific audience for the 5th and 6th graders yesterday. That's not easy to do. It's long, it's sitting still, it's listening with some intensity. Thank you for yesterday being such good audience. Ahead of time, thank you today for being such a good audience. The 5th and 6th now gets to reciprocate for the kindness. Welcome, everybody. Some of you, this will be your first time in Again, watching the 7th and 8th grade semifinals. I hope you enjoy it. The students have worked really hard. They've learned not only their own poems, but many of their friends' poems, which is a great treat. I'd ask you to put your phones on vibrate or silence. If you need to make a call, please step outside so you don't distract anybody. About halfway through the 7th, we'll take a standing stretch, our legs break, a bathroom break, and then between 7th and 8th, we'll take a full 5-minute bathroom break. We ask parents as much as possible to avoid leaving during 7th, except for that stretching break. That would be great, and that would be respectful. Others will join us. 8th grade. I will introduce the judges, and I thank them for doing this. We try to go as much as possible with outside judges who really don't know the students. So, I'm delighted to have Suzanne Day is the Director of Enrollment Management for the Frederick Gunn School in Washington, Connecticut, a school I got to visit this year, and I will highly recommend the Frederick Gunn School as those people pursue boarding school and day school options after country school. Suzanne's been there since 9 years. Has 2 children, both in college, 2 labs. He said very, very friendly labs. What are their names?
Their names are Daisy, she's 13, and Reagan, who's 11. Overly friendly.
Raise your hand if you have labs. Raise your hand if you have dogs. Not a dog. Yeah. We're delighted to have you here. I know you have a fondness with younger for Shel Silverstein.
Yes.
And are enjoying Frost and Whitman, among others. So. All right, so anyway, welcome and thank you. And raise your hand if you remember Anya Zygmunt. Anya Zygmunt is at the Frederick Gunn School, education returns. Right, Mateus Sislek, raise your hand if you recognize father of Amelia Milan. Raise your hand if you're a reading buddy to Amalia Milan. Going great, right? Yeah. Anyway, Mateus has been with us now. He's now serving on the Board of Trustees. He's now running not a startup anymore, but it's a brokerage business that gives back to communities and citizens, but has a deep background as an investment banker, uses that expertise on the Board of Trustees, Finance Committee, and the Investment Committee. And this is your first time in the gym, and eventually you'll be here as a nervous parent. So thank you for doing this today. Mike Levis, raise your hand if you recognize Mr. Levis from having taught his son, not many now. Mike Levis has a long Madison resident, father of 4 children, one of whom went here, Will, class of 14. And Mike has a background that you'll all appreciate. I have to read this just because you recognize the companies. He represents Champion, Under Armour, and Gear for Sports at colleges. So that must be the colleges put their names on.
Correct. Primarily on-campus retail stores, the bookstore market, covering New England. Behind academic institutions. Part of his
So follow that. But 4 children. I didn't teach them. Kelly, Jill, and Claire. After Will. But some of you will know Claire, right? Is this microphone on? Yes. Thank you for being here. And Laura Miller, Dr. Miller is a dentist in Madison and a dentist in Middletown, served on our Board of Trustees very faithfully, loves time at the beach, loves time with her husband. She says one of her best claims to fame is parent of Robbie Cozy, class of 2006, and who's now at Notre Dame University as a senior. He's going to stay on for 1 more year for his master's degree, which is great. But Laura Miller and Mike Levis have something in common, which is both their children went to Xavier after here, not boarding school, Suzanne Day, I'm sorry. But while they're both known for athletics, they were actually top students with us, and top students at Notre Dame and at Penn State University of Kentucky. So that's what we're particularly proud of. Anyway, delighted to have you here. Sorry for the long introduction, but I'm really proud of our judges today. We'll turn this now over to Mrs. Liu, and the students will go one at a time. The judges will score. They'll pass their sheets down to Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller passes the sheets back to Mrs. Brady. And Dr. Miller, you can be in charge of the thumbs up or the nod or whatever, and Mrs. Lee will pay attention as well. And then what will happen is the sheets after today will get scored, be reviewed with fifth and sixth. And then I think Friday we're announcing Thursday. So I said Thursday. Right? We're announcing the finalists. So congratulations, but for having the courage to get up, rehearse your poems, and deliver your poems to an audience, some of whose faces not familiar. Congratulations. Well, thank you, Mrs. Beal, and good luck, 7th grade.
Good morning. My name is Nathaniel Schultz, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is On Living by Nazim Hikmet. Living is no laughing matter. You must live with great seriousness, like a squirrel, for example. I mean, without looking for something beyond or above living. I mean, living must be your whole occupation. Living is no laughing matter. You must take living so seriously, so much so, and to such a degree, that with your hands tied behind your back to the wall, or else in a laboratory with your white coat and safety glasses, you can die for people, even for people whose faces you've never seen, even though you know living is the most real, most beautiful thing. You must take living so seriously that even at 70, for example, you'll plant olive trees, and not for your children either, but because although you fear death, you don't believe it, because living weighs heavier. Let's say we're in prison and close to 50. We have 18 more years, say, before the iron bars will open. We'll still live with the outside, with its people, animals, struggles, and wind. I mean, with the outside beyond the walls. However and wherever we are, you must live as if we will never die. This earth will go cold, a star among stars, and one of the smallest, a gilded mote on blue velvet. This earth will go cold one day, and not like a block of ice or a dead cloud even, but like an empty walnut, it will roll along through pitch black space. This earth will go cold one day. You must grieve for this right now. You have to feel this sorrow now, for the world must be loved this much if you're going to say, I lived. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Will Cornell, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is The Waterfall by Mary Oliver. For all they said, I could not see the waterfall, until I came and saw the water falling. Its lace legs and womanly arms sheeting down as something howled like thunder over the rocks, all day and all night, unspooling. Like ribbons made of snow, or God's white hair. At any distance, it fell without a break or seam, and slowly a simple preponderance, a fall of flowers, as it truly seemed, surprised by the unexpected kindness of the air, light-hearted to be flying at last. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Theodora Contamericos, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Vocabulary by Jason Schneiderman. I used to love words, but not looking them up. Now I love both, the knowing and the looking up. The absurdity of discovering that boreal has been meaning northern all this time, or that estrus is a much better word for the times when I would have most likely have said in heat. When I was translating, the dictionary was my enemy, the repository of knowledge that I seemed incapable of retaining. The foreign word for inflatable simply would not stay in my head, although the English word dectic, after just one encounter, has stuck with me for a year. I once lost desiccated for a decade, first encountered in an unkind portrayal of Ronald Reagan, and then finally returned to me in an article about cheese. I fell in love with my husband, not when he told me what the word apercus means, but when I looked it up, and he was right. There's even a word for when you use a word, not to mean its meaning, but as a word itself. And I'd tell you what it was if I could remember it. My third grade teacher used to joke that if we were bored, we could copy pages out of the dictionary. But when I did, also as a joke, she was horrified rather than amused. My friend reads the dictionary for its perspective on culture, laughs when I say that reference books are not really books, but proleptic databases. Discovery is always tinged with sorrow, the knowledge that you have been living without something, so we try to make learning the province of the young, who have less time to have regretted having lived in ignorance. My students are lost in dictionaries, unable to figure out why categorize means to put into categories, or why the fifth definition of standard is the one that will make the sentence in question make sense. I wonder how anyone can live without knowing the word wonder. A famous author once said in an interview that he ended his novel with an obscure word because he liked the idea of the reader looking it up. He wanted the reader, upon closing his book, to open another, that second book being a dictionary. And however much I may have loved that author, after reading this story, and this may surprise you, I loved him less. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maribel Smith, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Happiness by Raymond Carver. So early, it's still almost dark out. I'm near the window with coffee and the usual early morning stuff that passes for thought, when I see the boy and his friend walking up the road to deliver the newspaper. They wear caps and sweaters, and one boy has a bag over his shoulder. They are so happy. They aren't saying anything, these boys. I think if they could, they would take each other's arm. It's early in the morning, and they're doing this thing together. They come on, slowly. The sky is taking on light, though the moon still hangs pale over the water. Such beauty that for a minute, death and ambition, even love, doesn't enter into this. Happiness, it comes on unexpectedly and goes beyond, really, any early morning talk about it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zachary Boré, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is Slam, Dunk, and Hook by Yusuf Kamanyaka. Fast breaks, layups, with Mercury's insignia on our sneakers. We outmaneuvered the footwork of bad angels. Nothing but a hot swish of string like silk, 10 feet out, in the roundhouse labyrinth our bodies created. We could almost last forever, poised in midair like storybook sea monsters. A high note hung there a long second. Off the rim, we'd corkscrew up and dunk balls that explode the skullcap of hope and good intention. Lanky, all hands and feet sprung rhythm. We were metaphysical when girls cheered on the sidelines. Tangled up in a falling, muscles were a bright motor double flashing to the metal hoop nailed to our oak. When Sonny Boy's mama died, he played nonstop all day, so hard our backboard splintered. Glistening with sweat, we rolled the ball off our fingertips. Trouble was there slapping a blackjack against an open palm. Dribble, drive to the inside, and glide like a sparrow hawk. Fast breaks, layups. We had moves we didn't know we had. Our bodies spun on swivels of bone and faith through a lyric slipknot of joy. And we knew we were beautiful and dangerous. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Lucy Smith, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is I Lived in the First Century of World Wars by Muriel Rukeyser. I lived in the first century of world wars. Most mornings I would be more or less insane. The newspapers would arrive with their careless stories, the news would pour out of various devices, interrupted by attempts to sell products to the unseen. I would call my friends on other devices. They would be more or less mad for similar reasons. Slowly I would get to pen and paper, make my poems for others unseen and unborn. As the lights darkened, as the lights of night brightened, we would try, in the day I would be reminded of those men and women, brave, setting up signals across vast distances, considering a nameless way of living, of almost unimagined values. As the lights darkened, as the lights of night brightened, we would try to imagine them, try to find each other, to reconcile, to construct peace, waking with sleeping, ourselves with each other, ourselves with ourselves. We would try by any means to reach the limits of ourselves, to reach beyond ourselves, to let go the means, to wake. I lived in the first century of these wars.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Quill, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is The Sweetness of Dogs by Mary Oliver. What do you say, Percy? I'm thinking of sitting out on the sand to watch the moon rise. It's full tonight, so we go. And the moon rises so beautiful it makes me shudder. Makes me think about time and space. Makes me take measure myself. One iota pondering heaven. Thus we sit myself, thinking how grateful I am for the moon's perfect beauty, and also, oh, how rich it is to love the world. Percy, meanwhile, leans up against me and gazes up into my face, as though I were just as wonderful as the perfect moon. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Evan Stemler, and I will be reciting Optimism by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Talk happiness. The world is sad enough without your woes. No path is wholly rough. Look for the places that are smooth and clear, and speak of those to rest the weary ear of earth so hurt by one continuous strain of human discontent and grief and pain. Talk faith. The world is better off without your uttered ignorance and morbid doubt. If you have faith in God or man or self, say so. If not, push back upon the shelf of silence all your thoughts till faith shall come. No one will grieve because your lips are dumb. Talk health. The dreary, never-changing tale of mortal maladies is worn and stale. You cannot charm or interest or please by harping on that minor chord disease. Say you are well, or all is well with you. Hear your words and make them true. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Samantha Siegel, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Say It by Donna Ashworth. Never be afraid to let someone know if they brighten the room they just walked into, or if something they said inspired you to change. Never be embarrassed to share a compliment with a stranger, and don't ever fall into the trap of believing the people you love know that. Say it. Always say it. Although your words may land a little awkwardly at first, in the dark of the night, those seeds will plant themselves in someone's mental garden, start to germinate, gather strength, and bloom. Sow seeds wherever you go. There is nothing better you can do with your words than plant a precious seed. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zaria Shapiro, and the poem I will be reciting is Watershed by Robert Penn Warren. From this high place, all things flow, land of divided streams of water spilled eastward, westward, without memento. Land where the morning mist is curled, like smoke about the rich pool of the world. The mist is furled. The sunset hawk now rides, the tall light climbing deeper there. Beneath him swings the roof tree that divides the east and west. His gold eyes scan the crumpled shade on gorge and crest, and streams that creep and disappear appear, past fingered ridges and their shriveling span, and under the broken eaves men take their rest. Forever should they stir, their thought would keep this place, not love, happiness, past constraint, but certitude, enough in it remains. Though they who fled the flood and neap of earth itself have felt the earth creep, and pastures hung against the rustling good have felt the shudder and sweat of stone, knowing thereby no constant moon sustains the hill's lost granite surge. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Frank DeFilippo, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Cartoon Physics Part 1 by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10 shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexorably pushing into the vacuum. Galaxies swallowed by galaxies, whole solar systems collapsing. All of this acted out in silence. At 10, we're still learning the rules of cartoon animations. That if a man draws a door on a rock, only he could pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. 10-year-olds should stick with burning houses, car wrecks, ships going down, earthbound, tangible disasters, arenas where they could be heroes. You can run back into burning houses, sinking ships have lifeboats, trucks will come with ladders, if you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and rides across the city of sand. She knows the exact place it will skid and at which point the bridge will give. Who will swim to safety and get pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, she will not fall until he notices his mistake. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Caroline Rogers, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Alarum by Amanda Gorman. We're writing as the daughter of a dying world, as this new face alert. In math, the slash, also called the solidus, means division, divided by. We were divided from each other, person. Some griefs, like rivers, are uncrossable. They are not to be waded across, but walked beside. Our lost colossal blossom is never lost in us. Love the earth like we failed it. To put it plain, we have shipwrecked the earth, soiled the soil, and run the ground to ground. Listen, we are the loud toll on this planet. Our future needs us alarmed. Man is a myth in the making. What is now dust will not return, not the beloveds, nor their breath, nor the sugar-crumbling glaciers, nor all the crows chewing on their own soured song, nor the species slashed down in one smog swoop. Extinction is a chorus of quiet punching, that same note. What can never be brought back can still be brought forth, in memory, in mouth, and mind. To say it plain is to tell only half the story. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Anna Gunderson, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is The Work of Happiness by May Sarton. I thought of happiness, how it is woven out of the silence and the empty house each day, and how it is not sudden and it is not given, but is creation itself like the growth of a tree. No one has seen it happen, but inside the bark, another circle is growing in the expanding ring. No one has heard the roots go deeper in the dark, but the tree is lifted by this inward work, and its plumes shine and its leaves are glittering. So happiness is woven out of the peace of hours and strikes its roots deep in the house alone. The old chest in the corner, cool waxed floors, white curtains, softly and continually blown. As the free air moves quietly about the room, a shelf of books, a table, and the whitewashed wall. These are the dear familiar gods of home, and here the work of faith can best be done. The growing tree is green and musical. For what is happiness but growth and peace? The timeless sense of time when furniture has stood a lifespan in a single place. And as the air moves, so the old dreams stir, the shining leaves of present happiness. No one has heard, thought, or listened to a mind. But where people have lived in inwardness, the air is charged with blessing and does bless. Windows look out on mountains, and the walls are kind. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Griffin LaRiviere, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is To Live in the Zombie Apocalypse by Burley Vane. The moon will shine for God knows how long, as if it still matters, as if someone is trying to recall a dream. Believe the brain is a cage of light and rage. When it shuts off, something else switches on. There is no better reason than now to lock the doors, the windows. Turn off the sprinkler and porch light. Save the books for the fire. In darkness, we learn to read what moves along the horizon, across the periphery of a gun scope. The flicker of shadows, the rustling of trash in the body of cities long emptied. Not a soul lives in this house, in this house, in this house. Go on, stiffen the heart, quicken the blood. To live in a world of flesh and teeth, you must learn to kill what you love and love what can die. Thank you.
We will just take 2 minutes to stand up and please accept you might have to find the bar.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting in the evening come, watching the ships roll in, then I watch them roll away again. Oh, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Yeah, sitting on the dock of the bay, just wasting time. Yeah, I left my home in Sydney, headed for the Frisco Bay. I have nothing to live for. Looks like nothing's gonna come my way. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Yeah, sitting on the dock of the bay, just a wasting time. Looks like nothing's gonna change. Everything still remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to, so I guess I'll remain the same. Just sitting here resting my bones, and this loneliness won't leave me alone. For 2,000 miles I roam, just to make this dock my home. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, just a waste of time. Take it, JD, yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Mr. Lamacchia, how many people are following along at home or online? 18? Yeah, well, that's great. Thanks for doing that. No, 19 now.
Good morning. My name is Mia Sankey, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is Como tú, like you, like me, by Richard Blanco. Como tú, I question history's blur in my eyes each time I face a mirror. Like a mirror, I gaze into my palm, a wrinkled map I still can't read, my lifeline, an unnamed road I can't find, can't trace back to the fork in my parents' trek that cradled me here. Como tú, I woke up to this dream of a country I didn't choose, that didn't choose me, trapped in the nightmare of its hateful glares. Como tú, I'm also from the lakes and farms, waterfalls and prairies of another country I can't fully claim either. Como tú, I'm either a mirage, living among these faces and streets that raised me here, or I am nothing, a memory forgotten by all I was taken from and can't return to again. Like memory, at times I wish I could erase the music of my name in Spanish. At times, I cherish it and despise my other syllables clashing in English. Como tú, I want to speak of myself in two languages at once. Despite my tongues, no word defines me. Like words, I read my footprints like my past, erased by waves of circumstance, my future, uncertain as wind. Like the wind, como tú, I carry songs, howls, whispers, thunder's growl. Like thunder, I'm a foreign-born cloud that's drifted here. I'm lightning and the balm of rain. Como tú, our blood rains for the dirty thirst of this land. Like thirst, like hunger, we ache with the need to save ourselves and our country from itself. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tilly Killam, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is If I Should Have a Daughter by Sarah Kay. If I should have a daughter, instead of Mom, she's gonna call me Point B, because that way she knows that no matter what happens, at least she can always find her way to me. And I'm gonna paint solar systems on the backs of her hands. So she has to learn the entire universe before she can say, oh, I know that like the back of my hand. And she's gonna learn that this life will hit you hard, in the face, wait for you to get back up just so it can kick you in the stomach. But getting the wind knocked out of you is the only way to remind your lungs how much they like the taste of air. There is hurt here that cannot be fixed by Band-Aids or poetry. So the first time she realizes that Wonder Woman isn't coming, I'll make sure she knows she doesn't have to wear the cape all by herself. Because no matter how wide you stretch your fingers, your hands will always be too small to catch all the pain you want to heal. Believe me, I've tried. I want her to look at the world through the underside of a glass-bottom boat, to look through a microscope at the galaxies that exist on the pinpoint of a human mind. Because that's the way my mom taught me. That there'll be days like this. There'll be days like this, my mama said, when you open your hands to catch and wind up with only blisters and bruises. When you step out of the phone booth and try to fly, and the very people you want to save are the ones standing on your cape. And those are the very days you have all the more reason to say thank you. Because there is nothing more beautiful than the way the ocean refuses to stop kissing the shoreline no matter how many times it's sent away. You will put the wind in win some, lose some. You will put the star in starting over and over, and no matter how many landmines erupt in a minute, be sure your mind lands on the beauty of this funny place called life. Remember that good things come in threes, and so do bad things. And always apologize when you've done something wrong, but don't you ever apologize for the way your eyes refuse to stop shining. Your voice is small, but don't ever stop singing. And when they finally hand you heartache, when they slip war and hatred under your door and offer you handouts on street corners of cynicism and defeat, you tell them that they really ought to meet your mother. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Will Pappas, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Finding the Lego by Marianne Corbett. You find it when you're tearing up your life, trying to make some sense of the old messes. Moving dressers, peering under beds, almost lost in cat hair and cobwebs, in dust you vaguely know is once your skin. It shows up isolated, fragmentary, a tiny little solid, tractable, knob to be fitted in a lockstep pattern with others. Plastic, red, blue, or yellow, out of the dark, undamaged, as bright and primary colored and foursquare as the family with 2 parents and 2 children who moved in 20 years ago in a dream. It makes no allowances, concedes no failures, admits no knowledge of a little girl who glared through tears rubbing her slapped cheek. Rigidity is its essential trait, but likely as not, you leave it where it was. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Josie Leese, and the poem that I will be reciting for you today is Year's End by Richard Wilbur. Now winter downs the dying of the year, and night is all a settlement of snow. From the soft street, the rooms of houses show a gathered light, a shapen atmosphere, like frozen over lakes whose ice is thin and still allows some stirring down within. I've known the wind by water banks to shake the late leaves down, which frozen where they fell and held in ice as dancers in a spell, fluttered all winter long into a lake. Graved on the darkened gestures of descent, they seem their own most perfect monument. There was perfection in the death of ferns, which lay their fragile cheeks against the stone 1,000,000 years. Great mammoths overthrown composedly have made their long sojourns, like palaces of patience in the gray and changeless lands of ice. And at Pompeii, the little dog lay curled and did not rise, but slept the deeper, as the ashes rose and found the people incomplete, and froze the random hands, the loose, unready eyes of men expecting yet another sun to do the shapely thing they had not done. These sudden ends of time must give us pause. We fray into the future rarely wrought, save in the tapestries of afterthought. More time, more time. Barrages of applause come muffled from a buried radio. The New Year's bells are wrangling with the snow. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jace Cosin, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is What Is It by Mary Oliver. Who can say, is it a snowy egret or white flower standing at the glossy edge of the lily and frog-filled pond? Hours ago, the orange sun opened the cups of the lilies, and the leopard frogs began kicking their long muscles, breast-stroking like little green dwarfs under the root of the rich, iron-colored water. Now the soft eggs and the salamander and the wrappings of jelly begin to shiver. They're tired of sleep. They have no ideas. They want to swim away into the world. Thank you.
Hello and good morning. My name is Claire McKay, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is The Dollhouse by A.E. Stallings. There in the attic of forgotten shapes, old coats and plastic hat boxes, fur capes, amongst the smells of mothballs and cigars, I saw the dollhouse of our early years, with which my mother and my aunt had played, and later where my sister and I made the towering grown-up hours to smile and pass. The little beds, the tinfoil-looking glass, bookcases stamped in ink upon the walls, mismatched chairs where sat the jointed dolls. The clock whose face, no larger than a dime, had for all these years kept the same time. I remembered how he set the resin food atop a table of stained balsa wood. The shiny turkey hollowed to the tap, the cherry pie baked in a bottle cap. Now it is time to go to sleep, we spoke, parroting the talk of older folk, and laid the dolls out fully clothed in bed after their teeth were brushed and prayers were said, and flipped a switch on the low-wattage sun. But in the night, we'd have something break in, kidnap the baby, purloin the pie, a tiger, maybe, or a passerby, just to make something happen, to move the story. The dolls awoke, alarmed, took inventory. If we made something happen every day or night, it was the game we knew to play, not realizing then how lives accrue with interest, the smallest things we do. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kai Lee, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Propositions by Stephen Dunn. Anyone who begins a sentence with, "in all honesty," is about to tell a lie. Anyone who says, "this is how I feel," had better love form more than disclosure. Same for anyone who thinks he thinks well because he had a thought. If you say, "you're ugly," to an ugly person, no credit for honesty, which must always be a discovery, an act that qualifies as an achievement. If you persist, you're just a cruel jerk, A pig without a mirror, somebody who hasn't examined himself enough. A hesitation hints at an attempt to be honest, suggests a difficulty is present. A good sentence needs a clause or two, interruptions set off by commas, evidence of a slowing down, a rethinking. Before I asked my wife to marry me, I told her that I would never be fully honest. No one, she said, had ever said that to her. I was trying to be radically honest, I said, but in fact had another motive. A claim without a but in it is, at best, only half true. In all honesty, I was asking in advance to be forgiven. Thank you.
Hello and good morning. My name is Caroline Matkin, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is What Can a Poem Do? By Darius V. Daughtry. A poem cannot save your life, cannot loot cage your skin, fend off a dark alley attack, cannot make you less woman or less poor or less black and thus treated equally. A poem cannot stop a bullet, stop a bomb, stop terror on your doorstep. Your step, even with poem in hand, could be your last. A blast would turn the paper poem is written on into dust particles. Simile up in smoke, metaphors just molecules forgotten. A poem cannot turn back time's hand, erase mistakes made or cut, copy, paste memories. A poem cannot delete history's horrors. But a poem can love. Like hold you and scold you at the same time, a poem can rip away the untruths that have cocooned us. A poem can make you a butterfly. Not fly, you already fly, but a poem can make you float. No need to watch your step. Quiet as kept, a poem can introduce you to yourself. Help you discover those hidden, forbidden parts. A poem can be like a mirror sometimes, help you see the crust in your eye in the plank. On second thought, a poem can save a life. Like wise words granddaddy whispered, like the layer of truth just below the scriptures. A poem cannot stop a bullet, but can swallow the hate and spit back a sonnet that sonic booms a room till quotes float like balloons. Goblins and goons soon just nod their heads, snap their fingers to what's written and said. Isn't it ironic? They say the pen is mightier than the sword. But there were few writers on my block, mostly fighters on my block, dropouts that pulled all-nighters on my block. They blue and red light us on my block. They'd indict us on my block. What if there were more writers on my block? On your block? In every barrio and borough, conclave and commonwealth, courtroom and Capitol Hill. What if they all spilled ink on pages, allowed the inner workings of their hearts to scribble a poem or two? I wonder where we'd be if the masses knew just what a poem could do. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Oliver Milligan, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is Winter Morning by James Cruz. When I can no longer say thank you for this new day and the waking into it, for the cold scrape of the kitchen chair and the ticking of the space heater, glowing orange as it warms the floor near my feet, I know it's because I've been fooled again by the selfish, unruly man who lives in me and believes he deserves only safety and comfort. But if I pause, as I do now, and watch the streetlights outside flashing off one by one, like old men blinking their cloudy eyes, if I listen to my tired neighbors slamming car doors hard against the morning, and see the steaming coffee in their mugs, kissing chapped lips as they sip and exhale, each of their worries white into the icy air around their faces, then I can remember this one life is a gift each of us was handed and told to open. Untie the bow and tear off the paper. Look inside and be grateful for whatever you find, even if it is only the scent of a tangerine that lingers on the fingers long after you finish peeling it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ava Kowalski, and the poem that I will be reciting for you today is Dead Stars by Ada Limon. Out here, there's a bowing even the trees are doing, winter's icy hand at the back of all of us, black bark, slick yellow leaves, a kind of stillness that feels so mute it's almost in another year. I am a hearth of spiders these days, a nest of trying. We point out the stars that make Orion as we take out the trash. The rolling containers, a song of suburban thunder. It's almost romantic as we adjust the waxy blue recycling bin until you say, man, we should really learn some new constellations. And it's true, we keep forgetting about Antilia, Centaurus, Draco, Lacerta, Hydra, Lydra, Lynx, but mostly what we're forgetting is that we're dead stars too. My mouth is full of dust, and I wish to reclaim the rising, to lean into the spotlight of streetlight with you, toward what's larger within us, toward how we were born. Look, we are not unspectacular things. We've come this far, survived this much. What would happen if we decided to survive more, to love harder? What if we stood up with our synapses and flesh and said no, no to the rising tides, stood for the many mute mouths of the sea, of the land? What would happen if we used our bodies to bargain for the safety of others, for Earth? If we declared a clean night, if we stopped being so terrified? What if we launched our demands into the sky, made ourselves so big people could point to us with the arrows they make in their minds, rolling their trash bins out after all of this is over? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sydney Ann Cummings, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Shoulders by Naomi Shihab. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because the sun is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him, no cart drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo. But he is not marked, nor does his jacket say fragile, handle with care. His ear fills up with breathing, and he hears the hum of a boy's dreams deep inside him. We are not going to be able to live in this world if we are not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Katie Lee, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Living at the End of Time by Robert Bly. There is so much sweetness in children's voices, and so much discontent at the end of the day, and so much satisfaction when a train goes by. I don't know why the rooster keeps on crying, nor why elephants kept raising their trunks, nor why Hawthorne kept hearing trains at night. A handsome child is a gift from God, and a friend is the vein in the back of your hand. And a wound is in the hands from the wind. Some say we're living at the end of time, but I believe 1,000 pagan ministers will come tomorrow to baptize the wind. There's nothing we need to do about John. The Baptist has laid his hands on earth for so long that the well water is sweet for 100 miles. It's all right if we don't know what the rooster is saying in the middle of the night. Know why we feel so much satisfaction when a train goes by. Thank you.
Hello,
My name is Jacob Kleinstein, and today I'll be reciting Love and Death by Lord Byron. I watched thee when the foe was at our side, ready to strike at him, or thee and me were safety hopeless, rather than divide aught with one loved save love and liberty. I watched thee on the breakers when the rock received our prow and all was storm and fear, and bade thee cling to me through every shock. This arm would be thy bark, or breast thy bier. I watched thee when the fever glazed thine eyes, yielding my couch and stretched me on the ground, when overworn with watching, ne'er to rise from thence if thou an early grave hadst found. The earthquake came and rocked the quivering wall, and men and nature reeled as if with wine. Whom did I seek around the tottering hall? For thee, whose safety first provide for, thine. And when convulsive throes denied my breath, the faintest utterance to my fading thought, to thee, e'en in the gasp of death, my spirit turned, oftener than it ought. Thus much, and more, yet thou lovest me not. And never wilt. Love dwells not in our will, nor can I blame thee, though it be my lot, to strongly, wrongly, vainly love thee still. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kieran Freeman, and the poem that I will be reciting for you today is Workshop by Billy Collins. I might as well begin by saying just how much I like the title. It gets me right away, because I'm in a workshop now. So immediately the poem has my attention. And I like the first couple of stanzas, the way they establish this mode of self-pointing that runs through the whole poem and tells us that words are food thrown down on the ground for other words to eat. But what I'm not sure about is the voice, which in places sounds very casual, very blue jeans, yet other times seems standoffish, professorial in the worst sense of the word. But I did find engaging were the middle stanzas, especially the fourth one. I like the image of clouds flying like lozenges, which gives me a very clear picture. And I really like how the drawbridge operator just appears out of the blue, with his feet up on the iron railing and his fishing pole jigging. I like jigging. A hook in the slow industrial canal below. I love slow industrial canal below. All those L's. Now maybe it's just me, but the next stanza is where I start to have a problem. I mean, how can the evening bump into the stars? And what's an obligato of snow? At this point, I'm lost. I need help. The other thing that throws me off, and maybe this is just me, is the way the scene keeps shifting around. I mean, first we're in a big aerodome, and the speaker's inspecting a row of didgeridoo, which makes me think this could be a dream. Then he takes us into his garden, the part with the dahlias and the coiling hose. Though that's nice, the coiling hose. But then I'm not sure where we're supposed to be. But then there's the last stanza, my favorite. This is where the poem wins me back, especially the lines spoken in the voice of the mouse. I mean, we've all seen the images in cartoons before, but I still love the details he uses when he's describing where he lives. The perfect little arch of an entrance in the baseboard, The bed, made out of a curled back sardine can. The spool of thread for a table. I start thinking about how hard the mouse had to work, night after night, collecting all these things while the people in the house were fast asleep, which gives me a very strong feeling, a very powerful sense of something. But I don't know if anybody else was feeling that. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just the way I read it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lillian Clare, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is a new national anthem by Ada Limon. The truth is, I've never cared for the national anthem. If you think about it, it's not a good song. Too high for most of us with the rocket's red glare, and then there are the bombs. Always, always, there is war and bombs. Once, I sang it at homecoming and threw even the tenacious high school band off key. But the song didn't mean anything, just a call to the field, something to get through before the pummeling of the youth. In what of the stanzas we never sing, the third that mentions no refuge could save the hireling and the slave? Perhaps the truth is every song of this country has an unsung third stanza, something brutal snaking underneath us as we blindly sing the high notes with the beer sloshing in the stands, hoping our team wins. Don't get me wrong, I do like the flag, how it undulates in the wind, like water, elemental. And best, when it's humbled, brought to its knees, clung to by someone who has lost everything. When it's not a weapon, when it flickers, when it folds up so perfectly, you can keep it until it's needed, until you can love it again, until the song in your mouth feels like sustenance, a song where the notes are sung by even the ageless woods, the short grass plains, the red river gorge, the fistful of land left unpoisoned, that song that's our birthright, that's sung in silence when it's too hard to go on, that sounds like someone's rough fingers weaving into another's, that sounds like a match being lit in an endless cave, the song that says my bones are your bones, and your bones are my bones. And isn't that enough? Thank you.
Those were great. I love discovering new poems through that, and I know we all do. Seventh graders, would you please stand so we can congratulate you? Seventh graders, feel free to thank the judges. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then before the 8th grade, we're going to ask any of the 7th grade parents to recite their child's poem. Great. Thank you, everybody. If you could head back to your seats, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Nolan Beichner, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is My Deepest Condiments by Taylor Malley. I send you my deepest condiments was in no way what my old friend meant to say or write or send the night she penned a note to me 1 week after my father died. Not condolences or sentiments, she sent me her deepest condiments instead, as if the dead have need of relish, mustard, and ketchup on the other side. Oh, the word made me laugh so hard out loud it hurt. So wonderfully absurd and such sweet relief in a time when it seemed only grief was allowed in after my father's death. Sweet and simple laughter, which is nothing more than breath from so far deep inside, it often brings up with it tears. So I laughed and laughed until my sides were sore, and later still, I even cried a little more. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Liam Ballow, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is More Light by Anthony Hecht. Composed in the tower before his execution, these moving verses, and being brought at the time painfully to the stake, submitted, declaring thus, I implore my God to witness that I have made no crime. Nor was he forsaken of courage. But the death was horrible, the sack of gunpowder failing to ignite. His legs were blistered sticks on which the black sap bubbled and burst as he howled for the kindly light. And that was but one, and by no means one of the worst, permitted at least his pitiful dignity. And such as were by made prayers in the name of Christ, that shall judge all men for his soul's tranquility. We move now to outside a German wood. 3 men are there, commanded to dig a hole, in which the 2 Jews are ordered to lie down and be buried alive by the 3rd, who is a Pole. Not light from the shrine at Weimar beyond the hill, nor light from heaven appeared, but he did refuse. A Luger settled back deeply in its glove. He was ordered to change places with the Jews. Much casual death drained away their souls. The thick dirt mounted towards the quivering chin. When only the head was exposed, the order came to dig him out again and to get back in. No light in the blue Polish eye. When he finished, a riding boot packed down the earth. A Luger hovered lightly in its glove. He was shot in the belly and in 3 hours bled to death. No prayers or incense rose up in those hours, which grew to be years. And every day came mute ghosts from the oven, sifting through the crisped air, and settled upon his eyes in a black soot. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chloe Ryan, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is April Fool by Taylor Molly. Because you died on the last day of March, your wife had trouble getting your friends to believe her when she started making calls the next day. Very funny, people would say, but I'm no April Fool. You must have loved that, floating in the kitchen in her coffee's mist. Because you could not dry her tears, you might have said, lover, mother, wife, friend, cry for me if you must, if it helps to heal, but only if you cannot laugh or even dance. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Charlie Uganeski, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Forgetfulness by Billy Collins. The name of the author is the first to go, followed obediently by the title, the plot, the heartbreaking conclusion, the entire novel which suddenly becomes one that you've never read, never even heard of. As if one by one, the memories you used to harbor decided to retire to the southern hemisphere of your brain, to a little fishing village where there are no phones. Long ago, you kissed the names of the 9 muses goodbye, watched the quadratic equation pack its bag. And even now, as you memorize the order of the planets, something else is slipping away. A state flower, perhaps, the address of an uncle, the capital of Paraguay. Whatever it is you are struggling to remember, it's not poised on the tip of your tongue, not even lurking in some obscure corner of your spleen. It has floated away down a dark, mythological river whose name begins with an L as far as you can recall. Well on your way to oblivion, where you'll join those who have even forgotten how to swim and how to ride a bicycle. No wonder you rise in the middle of the night to look up the date of a famous battle and book on war. No wonder the moon in your window seems to have drifted out of a love poem you used to know by heart. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Raphael Miamwe, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is We Refugees by Benjamin Zephaniah. I come from a musical place where they shoot me for my song, and my brother has been tortured by my brother in my land. I come from a beautiful place where they hate my shade of skin. They don't like the way I pray, and they ban free poetry. I come from a beautiful place where girls cannot go to school. There you are told what to believe, and even young boys must grow beards. I come from a great old forest. I think it is now a field, and the people I once knew are not there now. We can all be refugees. Nobody is safe. All it takes is one mad leader or no rain to bring forth food. We can all be refugees. We can all be told to go. We can be hated by someone for being someone. I come from a beautiful place where the valley floods each year, and each year the hurricane tells us we must keep moving on. I come from an ancient place. All my family were born there, and I would really like to go there, but I really want to live. I come from a sunny, sandy place where tourists go to darken skin, and dealers like to sell guns there. I just can't tell you what's the price. I am told I have no country now. I am told I am a lie. I am told modern history books may forget my name. We can all be refugees. Sometimes it only takes a day. Sometimes it only takes a handshake or a paper that is signed. We can all be refugees. Nobody simply just appeared. Nobody's here without a struggle. So why should we live in fear of the weathers or the troubles? We all came here from somewhere. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Connor Duffy, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Building a Joke by Bob Peacock. A man goes to war with the same country his father did. No. A man wears insulated pants. Sorry. A man holds 2 cups of coffee in one hand, and one hand of poker in the other hand, and one thermonuclear device in the other hand. I am trying. Did you ever think it is wrong to want people dead when maimed is more interesting? All that clomping and falling. Want a leg shot off and a man wants revenge? Someone told him no. Someone said very loudly or in a soft voice. Or maybe someone just wrote the word on a pad and slipped the piece of paper under a door. But anyway, there it was. No. No is on turned around, the man thought. And on is the first part of only. And only means just a bit. And just a bit isn't too much. And not too much is never enough. We need more, and more is yes. And yes is basically what no is telling me, the man thought. A man wants an entirely personal relationship with semantics. I will love you to death is really not such a bad phrase if a man walks into a bar and something funny happens in the bar. If the bar is in another country, the joke can be amended. A man walks into another country. There's a duck, a horse, a rabbi, Muhammad. Whenever a man says knock knock, don't ask who's there. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Eloise Lafferty, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is We Rise by Amanda Gorman. Today, everyone's eyes are on us as we rise. Today is the day women are paving the way, speaking our truth to power. In this hour, it is our duty to find the brave beauty in rooting for other women. So they too know we are not victims. We are victors, the greatest predictors of progress. We push on and act on to bring freedom to those who didn't have a choice, to bring volume to those who are using their voice. We clear women's way, she steps into the light, because we are with her every step of the fight. So we encourage women who dare to stare, women who've always shown that when one woman stands up, she is never alone. We know when she steps up to right a wrong, she will fight to bring others along, working together to change communities and nations for generations. Our world made all the stronger the longer women are able to sit at the table. It is her strength, her story, and her spirit which inspires other vital voices to speak up when they hear it. We all leap forward when one woman tries, when she defies with her rallying cries. Here lies, but does not rest, the best of tested women who call us all to rise. Speaking the truth in this finest hour, that to their own power, every single woman is entitled. But it's how they empower others that makes women's voices so vital. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Leah Morris, and I'm going to be reciting Hereafter by Jamoke McDuffie Thurmond. To the drowned, to the living, to the yet born, what remains after the break is a foundation. These are our bones that I move. This body makes pathways to the sea. The Atlantic is a calling, an altar, an extension of those who have never left you, those who know that death is as static as life. Seek us in the patterns, your breath, the tempo of your pulse, the textures of your sorrow and your joy. Hold me, us, between your teeth and tongue when you are met with pain. Even when it feels as if it will last forever, the pain will pass and that shall not take you with it. Light gives birth inside the corridors of our cells. Our blackness has never been a curse. We speak with tongues that predate and outlive us. Silence has never been a choice. Sea salt cannot erode the spirit. You could not lose us in the sea. We are the sea. These foundations remain after the end of the world. There's a thread between the Atlantic and the womb. If you grasp it, you will feel us. The drowned, the living, and the yet born. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Keva Frushar, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Evening Hawk by Robert Penn Warren. From plane of light to plane, wings dipping through geometries and orchids that the sunset builds. Out of the peak's black angularity of shadow, riding the last tumultuous avalanche of light above pines and the guttural gorge. The hawk comes. His wings scythe down another day. His motion is that of a honed steel edge. We hear the crashless fall of stalks of time. The head of each stalk is heavy with the gold of our error. Look, look, he's climbing the last light. Who knows? Neither time nor error. And under whose eye? Unforgiving. The world, unforgiven, swings into shadow. Long now, the last thrush is still. The last bat now cruises in his sharp hieroglyphics. His wisdom is ancient, too, and immense. The stars steady like Plato over the mountain. If there were no wind, we might, we think, hear the earth grind on its axis, or history drip in darkness like a leaking pipe in the cellar. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Will Lawrence, and today I'll be reciting Naming of Parts by Henry Reed. Today we have naming of parts. Yesterday we had daily cleaning, and tomorrow morning we shall have what to do after firing. But today we have naming of parts. Japonica glistens like coral in all of the neighboring gardens, and today we have naming of parts. This is the lower sling swivel, and this is the upper sling swivel, whose use you will see when you are given your slings. The blossoms are fragile and motionless, never letting anyone see any of them using their finger. This is the safety catch, which is always released with an easy flick of the thumb. And please do not let me see anyone using their finger. You can do it quite easy if you have any strength in your thumb. The blossoms are fragile and motionless, never letting anyone see any of them using their finger. And this, you can see, is the bolt. The purpose of this is to open the breech, as you see. We can slide it rapidly backwards and forwards. We call this easing the spring. And rapidly backwards and forwards, the early bees are assaulting and fumbling the flowers. They call it easing the spring. They call it easing the spring. It is perfectly easy if you have any strength in your thumb. Like the bolt, and the breech, and the cocking piece, and the point of balance, and the almond blossom, silent in all of the gardens, and the bees going backwards and forwards. For today, we have naming of parts. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Alex Duquez, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is I Want by Jordan Jace. I want to write poems for construction workers and dreamers, for revolutionaries, for deadbeats and those on the low. I never want to ask, please, fix us all. I want for us to want to patch every heart and pave every road and destroy every system that has ever left us broken. I want to sing like Frank Ocean, like Wonder, like Sonder, like Merba, like the sea. I want to recite the line, took the wretched out the earth, called it baby Fannin. I want to call someone baby. I want to stop smoking because I want to live. I can only love my comrades if I live. And I want to clean my room. I want to clean my room every week and make my bed and put peppermint in my hair. To stop needing my inhalers and to inhale solidarity. And to eat the rich. I want to eat the rich, to cancel the rents, to know my neighbors, and to know my neighbors are safe. I want to move like water, to move from unity, to struggle to unity, to have no perfect world we haven't fought for. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Abby Calarco, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is Night of Telescopes by Emma Trellis. I have buried my share, and hardly anyone knows. A house must hold ghosts, writing names across funereal woods in windows, good for viewing the lingering past. This night of telescopes fixes the cold October sky, a Saturn so delicate, as if sketched by moths holding to nearby stones for their lives. The sisters of the moon drift into sharpness, and a hand points to the inevitable screen. Another haunt in this dim garden where voices ride across pines, and a finger points to the inevitable screen. Here is the sea of crisis, and I would recognize its expanse anywhere. Having visited often, even beneath my lids, at night when I disappear to visit a father who no longer knows me, or the dead who always do, and glow like the rain or a rose with the business of becoming. I cannot say the worst, because it will keep happening. Machine of the mind, belt of the hunter. I can spot his patient blade from either coast. The one where I drowned, the one where I love, the one where I keep rowing through the blaze and the black. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gabe Johnson, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is Cartoon Physics Part 2 by Nick Flynn. Years ago, alone in her room, my mother cut a hole in the air and vanished into it. The report hung and deafened, followed closely by an overwhelming silence, a ringing in the ears. Today, I take a piece of chalk and sketch a door in the wall. By the rules of cartoon physics, only I can open this door. I want her to come with me, like in a dream of being dead, the mansion filled with cots, one for everyone I've ever known. This desire can be a cage, a dream that spills into waking until I wander this city as a rose-strewn funeral. Once upon a time, let's say my mother stepped inside herself and no one could follow. More than once, I traded on this until it transmuted into the transubstantiation of desire. I'd recite it as if I never told anyone, and it felt that way. And I tried not to cry, yet always would, and the listener would hold me. I told you the story of first learning to write my name, chalk scrawl against our garage door, so that when my mother pulled it down, I'd appear, like a movie. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Maybelline Hladky, and the poem I'll be reciting for you today is So Much Happiness by Naomi Shihab Nye. It is difficult to know what to do with so much happiness. With sadness, there is something to rub against, a wound to tend with lotion and cloth. When the world falls in around you, you have pieces to pick up, something to hold in your hands like ticket stubs or change. But happiness floats. It doesn't need you to hold it down. It doesn't need anything. Happiness lands on the roof of the next house singing and disappears when it wants to. You are happy either way. Even the fact that you once lived in a peaceful tree house and now live over a quarry of noise and dust cannot make you unhappy. Everything has a life of its own. It, too, could wake up filled with possibilities of coffee cake and ripe peaches and love. Even the floors needs to be swept, the soiled linens and scratched records. Since there's no place large enough to contain so much happiness, you shrug, you raise your hands, and it flows out of you into everything you touch. You are not responsible. You take no credit, as the night sky takes no credit for the moon, but continues to hold it and share it, and in that way, be known. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Henrik Sharp, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is Perhaps the World Ends Here by Joy Harjo. The world begins at the kitchen table. No matter what, we must eat to live. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on this table. So it has been since creation, and will go on. We chase chickens or dogs away from it. Babies teethe at the corners. They scrape their knees under it. It is here that children are given instructions on what it means to be human. We make men at it. We make women. At this table, we gossip, call enemies, and the ghosts of lovers. Our dreams drink coffee with us as they put their arms around our children. They laugh with us at our poor, falling down selves as we put ourselves back together once again at this table. This This table has been a house in the rain, an umbrella in the sun. Wars have begun and ended at this table. It is a place to hide in the shadow of terror, a place to celebrate the terrible victory. We have given birth on this table and prepared for parents' burial here. At this table, we sing with joy, with sorrow. We pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table while we are laughing, crying, eating of the last sweet bite. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Entman, and the poem that I'll be reciting for you today is Extenuating Circumstances by Paul Violi. I don't know how fast I was going, but even so, that is still an intriguing question, officer, and deserves a thoughtful response. With the radio unfurling Beethoven's Ode to Joy, you might consider anything under 80 sacrilege, particularly on a parkway as lovely as the one you're fortunate enough to patrol, and patrol so diligently. A loveliness that, if observed at an appropriate rate of speed, affords a kind of pleasure, which in itself is a reminder of how civilization depends on the assurance of order and measure, and the devotion of someone like yourself to help maintain it. Where it would be anyone's guess how fast the west wind was blowing when it strummed a rainbow and gave birth to Eros. Never forget that a parkway is a work of art, and the faster one goes, the greater tribute to its power of inspiration. And on a night like this, starlight reignited above a snowfall's last flurry, cockeyed headlights scanning the graders above, eggshell snow crust flying off the hood and hatching me on the wing. Like a song breaking through prose, the kind I usually sing through my nose. So much to love, a bit less to scorn. What have I done? To what end was I born? Got the heater on full blast, window jammed down, odometer busted, speedometer dead wrong. Can't tell how fast I'm going. Don't care how far I've gone. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Luke Shupp, and I'll be reciting Navy Field by William Meredith. Limped out of the hot sky, a hurt plane. Held off, whirring pretty pigeon. Hit then and scuttled to a crooked stop. The stranger pilot who emerged, this was the seashore. War came suddenly here. Talk till the still mechanics who nodded gravely. Flak had done it, he said. From an enemy ship attacked. They wheeled it with love into the dark hangar's mouth and tended it. Coffee and cake for the pilot, then who sat alone in the restaurant, reading the numbered sheets that tell about weather. After towards dusk, mended the stranger plane went back to the sky. His curly-headed picture and mother and Meadow's picture were all we knew of him after he rose again. Those few electric jewels against the moth and waning sky. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Charlie Sinclair, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is Orville by Rudy Francisco. Brother, last week I overheard a joke. What do you call two men who think they can fly? A funeral. To be honest, I didn't think it was funny either. The whole town has become an ocean of pointed fingers. People I once called friends are now just a tidal wave of unsolicited advice. They are trying to rinse out the color from our dreams. Yesterday, a lady from church pulled me aside and said, if God had wanted us in the sky, he would have given us wings. And I replied, isn't that what imagination is? The act of actually going somewhere that others can only think of? Brother, sometimes people who have never even tried to run a mile will tell you that a marathon is too far. Some people will try to talk you out of jumping into the water simply because they have always been too scared to learn how to swim. Fear is when the brain digs out all faith from the body and calls it survival. Fear is when we turn up the volume on everything that might go wrong and allow it to speak louder than our courage. But for those who do not worship at the altar of panic, for those who do not sacrifice their ambitions to a demigod of worst-case scenarios, for those who do not give up, failure is just a short story they tell before they talk about success. They call us stupid. I say stupid and brave are just two sides of the same coin. The only difference is whether you guess correctly before the penny hits the floor. They say it's impossible. I say everything is until it's not. Brother, I have a joke. What do you call the first two men in the world who figure out how to fly? Legends. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Emma Ferenczi, and the poem I will be reciting for you today is Dear March, Come In by Emily Dickinson. Dear March, come in, how glad I am, I hoped for you before, put down your hat, you must have walked, how out of breath you are. Dear March, how are you, and the rest? Did you leave nature well? Oh March, come right upstairs with me, I have so much to tell. I got your letter, and the birds, the maples never knew that you were coming, I declare how red their faces grew. But March, forgive me, and all those hills you left for me to hew, there was no purple suitable, you took it all with you. Who knocks? That April, lock the door, I will not be pursued. He stayed away a year to call when I'm occupied, but trifles look so trivial as soon as you've come, that blame is just as dear as praise, and praise is mere as blame. Thank you.
That's a long wait to go toward the end. There was a moment, in a second I'll ask the results to come. I saw a moment where it could have been anybody, but Charlie, you sat through all this and you were 2 away from having to go. You made a special effort to congratulate your friends, and I saw you going like, oh, it's presents. Yeah, they're all doing it. If you didn't know, it's the 8th graders are knuckle bumping each other and high five and congratulating. And it's what eventually happens by 8th grade. 5th, 6th, 7th, they're so kind of tight on it. Here they're tight, nervous, but they're congratulating each other. It's just what the poetry is all about. It's why I'm so pleased that David MacLane started the poetry contest 67 years ago. So 8th graders, you gave us a great gift. Please stand so we can thank you. And this is for you. 7th and 8th grade today is fantastic. I know the amount of time you put into that. And not during an easy time for you as well. So thank you, Mrs. Leo. And we had a special gift from Mrs. Betsy Hart, who came and worked with 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th on poetry. Would you all please help me thank them? I'm looking to Mr. Wadiel All right, 8th grade, feel free to thank the judges. Judges, none of us want to be in your position. Thank you for being here.